When did you realize that you were the problem? When I got punched, and everyone went and shook the hand of the puncher. TF did you do? Jobs always seem to go south 3 or 4 months in. I noticed my friends were all getting happier, advancing in life, and I wasn't. Courage to say this. I don't have any friends, so I've had to accept that it's me that's the problem. Most people are not initiators, and if you want to build friendships you need to be doing most of the initiating. The sooner you learn that, the easier it'll be. I realized I have a hand in every situation in my life, that I am always responsible for myself. Any situation I encounter I have a choice as to how to handle, respond, and perceive it. I was probably 17 when I realized blaming everyone else for my issues is what my parents do, and I don't want to be anything like them, so I took a step back. I used to blame every issue I had on anything and everything I could find. Every apology was filled with excuses, diluting and justifying my conduct, until one day I realized that people don't want excuses, they want apologies. And so then I learned to fix that. Then I realized people don't want apologies either, they would prefer if problems and arguments didn't happen in the first place. I was insanely shy in school, like almost fully debilitating social anxiety. It was especially bad in high school when the kids I was at least comfortable eating lunch with went to a different middle school. I saw everyone else as being all-knowing and confident, and having some sort of secret script to know the right thing to say. If someone tried to start a conversation with me, my thought process would be, oh god, why are they talking to me? There must be some hidden agenda, and just try to get out of the conversation as fast as possible. Then this one graduating senior I was mildly acquainted with for some reason dropped to me that people thought I was stuck up. That was mind-blowing to me. Couldn't everyone tell that they were the confident ones and I was terrified of them? Well, no, they couldn't. It was an epiphany that wow, other people are actually worried about what I think of them, just like I'm worried about what they think. And if you avoid talking to people, that's actually hurtful. The same thing happened to my mom. She didn't have social anxiety so much as she was shy, and one day someone told her that she was stuck up and always had her nose in the air. She didn't realize how her shyness came off to people. Fairly recently realized I'm fat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I'm fat. Either way, I'm the only one who can fix it, and I have stopped giving a frick. I had a similar realization. A lot of things that hold me back are related to my insecurities, and a huge insecurity I've had all my life is my weight. I won't let it anymore. I realized I was the problem a few years back when I had the coolest freaking therapist in the world. She would say how she couldn't possibly give a frick about my feelings, she only cared about results for me. Coolest lady ever, and I miss her so much. Anyway, she told me a saying, and the saying goes, you have every right to be angry but you have no right to be mean. My life got so much better after that. I really like this. Thank you for sharing. Managing my anger is very hard, but using that as a mantra is going to help me. Realizing I was very toxic towards broke up with my partner after having the same discussion for 2 months without getting close to resolving it. My main reason for breaking up was that he was not able to have constructive conversations in order to work conflicts out. When we decided to meet up 2 days after the breakup and have one last conversation, we both realized that the topic of our fighting has not been the issue, but that our way of interacting with each other had become super toxic. For me, it was a shock that my behavior was very problematic too. So we got back together and are working hard to be in a healthy relationship with each other. Yeah, in a relationship what you are fighting about is almost never what you are fighting about. You don't fight over toothpaste in the dishwasher. You only really fight about things that really matter to you, that they represent. I looked around and saw that people were happier when I wasn't involved with whatever was going on. Recently, whenever I'm angry at my girlfriend and discussing it with her, all she does is apologize, over and over again. First it made me think that yeah, maybe I'm justified in my anger because she's so apologetic, when in actuality my mood swings are becoming more and more frequent and I'm getting more and more angry over the dumbest crap. A few days ago it hit me why I never see changes in her behavior. I keep finding different and increasingly inconsequential crap to get mad about, regardless of what she does. Made me take a couple steps back and reevaluate my behavior. I am very lazy and my husband does a lot of housework and watching our child. I sleep a lot. The reason behind this is depression. I'm not just trying to be an butthole, but I seriously feel incapable of doing anything on some days. Well, we got into a fight once because he was saying that he is overwhelmed and could I just do the dishes because that would help. I was arguing, don't you understand that I just don't feel capable of doing the dishes. After that argument I was sitting there thinking about it and realized the toll I was taking on him. I also realized how bad my depression had gotten. Got up and did the dishes and made a therapist appointment the next day. I've been doing the dishes every day since. It's small and I still need to help more, but I finally realized that I was the problem. It hurt, man. It really hurts to realize that. I hope you get the help needed, but my advice to you is to make the effort. It will go in part to helping you cope. The task may be annoying, but the guilt is worse. My best friend used to joke that I was creepy, pathetic, and worthless. Then one night they got drunk and confessed they had really meant it all the time. I decided I needed a new best friend and went out and found one. After about a year they let me know I was needy, boring, pathetic, and worthless. Second time was the charm. This is sad, but when I had to sleep behind liquor store dumpster on an empty pallet, I was a histrionic, egotist who had so many bridges burned I had to swim. Life has gotten much better since then. Histrionic egotist, you've come a long way. I was really drunk one night, laying in bed trying to sleep, but all I could hear was insane traffic noise. Sometimes I can hear the road through my window, but this was crazy. Sirens, people shouting, tires rumbling. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but the shouting got louder and louder. I opened my eyes to look outside and see WTF was going on. All I can make out is a police car blocking the road and a policeman running towards me. It'd fallen asleep on a mini roundabout. Wow, that must have been a quick sober up. I'm admittedly still working on this. I had a huge amount of childhood trauma and abuse, and cut the obvious abuses off in my teens. The real progress didn't happen until I cut off the less obvious toxic people as well as the people making excuses for them. After I stopped allowing others to mistreat me, that's when I realized I was making myself unhappy. For a long time, I thought I'd learned that I was the reason for my unhappiness, but I still continued to complain and make excuses for not doing what I wanted and being who I wanted to be. It felt impossible to stop indulging in self-pity. It's taken a lot of practice to learn to identify when I'm entertaining that victim thought process as it starts. I still slip up sometimes, but I've gotten a lot better at it. I've gone from crying every day and calling out of work at least every 2 weeks to, if anything, a 5 to 10 minute pep talk in my head when I start feeling down. If someone had told me 3 years ago that I'd be as content as I am now, I never would have believed them. I feel like an actual person with interests and hobbies. I'm learning who I am, and I'm starting to really admire who that is. I can enjoy myself when I'm alone, and most days I'm truly grateful for my life. I feel like I probably ended up a bit off topic with this, but I'm posting anyway. Lol. When you play on an expensive instrument and realize that it wasn't the instrument that sounded bad. As I approach 30, I realize that I have gifted child syndrome and my success in high school and college theater productions mean nothing when I'm not putting in the groundwork to have a career. Part of that was depression. Part of that was liking to get stoned every night. This is it, chief. Even had academic awards going through school and just realized I didn't need to work hard. The bad thing about being smart is you never really have to use it. I was always unhappy with being over 220 pounds. I tried everything to lose weight. Everything except actually trying, you know what I mean? One day I just thought FCK it, man, I'm actually going to do something, and hey, what do you know? I lost weight. It was kind of a kick up the butt and realized I can be and moan about everything, but unless I actually do something I'm ultimately going to be the reason I'm unhappy. I've applied that thinking to other aspects of life, and actually pushing myself to do things makes things happen. Exactly. You can't try a diet or exercise plan. You either do it or you don't. Just today actually, I noticed everyone was having a good time, and for small reasons I found myself getting upset. I just felt a cloud over my brain getting darker and I didn't understand why. We were all having a good time at the park. That doesn't sound like you were the problem. It sounds like depression was hitting you. It took me losing 5 really good friendships because they all stopped talking to me to realize I was the one who stopped talking to them because of fear. Ah crap. When my therapist told me I overreact when I feel rejected, even if it's a little rejection, due to lack of love my parents gave me when I was little. I've been told my entire professional life that I'm difficult to work with. I always chalk that up to having to develop a thick skin as a woman who cooks professionally. About 3 months ago I started taking SSRIs after yet another bad year-end review and missed promotion. The pills changed my personality so drastically that I realized the negativity and crappy vibes that have been the biggest inhibitor of my career all stemmed from depression and anxiety, and that had I started antidepressants earlier in my life I would have saved myself a lot of heartache. Maybe no one will see this, but I realized I was the problem when I almost ruined my dad's surprise party by staying in my bed and making my family late, and in my mind I was always thinking they deserve this for what they've done to me. They weren't always there when I was a kid, but now they try to be and I push them away. I'm trying to be better with them, but it just hasn't been the same cause we got in an argument that day and some tears were shed. Hey, it's good that you have worked to better yourself. About 5 years too late when I saw myself in someone else. This is a good one. I realized with my ex that his crappy behavior was an equal reflection of my crappy behavior to him. Yikes, that was unpleasant to realize. My next boyfriend, now fiance, takes zero crap and calls me on mine. Def the kind of partner I need, the kind that makes me a better person. Even if he has his own quirks that the fam doesn't seem to grasp and get all judgy about lol. When 3 exes back to back over the years were the ones who broke up with me. They couldn't handle my mental breakdowns and outlashes and self-victimizing and broke it off because they were tired of it. One after the other. It fueled my self-pity until I got tired of the same old story myself. I'm currently with an amazing woman and we've been together for a little over a year now, the longest relationship I've ever been in. Her patience and unconditional love and support with my depression and episodes helps me try to be better and catch myself self-destructing because I don't want to lose another person in my life. I've gotten a lot better over time, but I know I still have a lot of work to do. Mental health does not excuse and give a pass for outlashes. Think of your loved ones and how they get affected by it and apologize to them when you're better. Actively be better for them and yourself. When I kept having the same cycle relationship wise, unfortunately being abusive, being ungrateful, getting into fights, I finally took a stand and am going to see a psychologist tomorrow. Update: just got evaluated, got diagnosed with depressive disorder, and my abusive tendencies are attributed to my childhood trauma. They recommend more therapy. Thank you all. Crap, yes. IDK how old you are, but I'm 29 and just saw a therapist for the first time. It's doing wonders for me after a couple of really crap relationships. Good luck. Be honest. Heal. In middle school I never went to my classes or did my work. I stayed in the office all day and would nap in the sick room. I still ended up going into high school because of the No Child Left Behind Act. I proceeded to do what I always did and ended up being held back my freshman year. I ended up actually getting my butt in gear and balanced both my freshman and sophomore classes and passing both. I'm now a junior and have a 3.5 GPA. My friends confronted me and told me, and then I apologized and began to work on fixing it. My friends did the same thing, only I reacted defensively and drove them away. Ate 2 edibles that were stronger than I realized and kind of had an epiphany with myself in the mirror, that my life and myself weren't where I wanted them to be and I was the only one who could do anything about it. So I am. Looking in the mirror high always gives me the WTF are you doing with your life thought. Growing up I lived in an abusive household. The way my parents were shaped me in a certain way. I ended up trading abusive parents for abusive partners. The hurt all felt the same. I let these men abuse and assault me because I thought I deserved it. That made me a toxic person. It wasn't till I was 20 that I realized what I let happened. My relationship ended and I realized I projected my insecurities into my relationship. I've now met someone new and continue to get professional help for my trauma and I'm completely a different and better person. When my students all got 50% or less on a test I gave, I realized I was the common denominator. More teachers should be like you, or at least the realization part. I had many people want to know about me, which was kind of weird at first. After a couple of years, I realized I never cared to get to know people. That's why I always had trouble making friends. Hey, I'm exactly the same. Whenever meeting new people, because of my age, I would be asked tons of questions about university and what I was doing, etc. But I never knew what to ask back, so I never asked anything. Then someone let me know that I was being rude and it opened my eyes a bit. I'm trying to better, but I'm still never sure exactly what to ask. I end up hurting everyone I get close to in one way or another. My behaviors are obsessive and manipulative. Looking into the mirror 15 years ago and realizing how much of a jackass I am. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a butthole, but I did grow up a tad. Time for the next step from butthole to jerk. I don't know about a specific time, but a good rule of thumb I follow is if one person is in a bad mood, they're in a bad mood. If everyone is in a bad mood, I'm the one in the bad mood. Sometimes it's hard to self-diagnose, but that helps me a lot when it comes to work. So you know how every workplace has one butthole that no one can stand and wishes would quit or get fired? Well, one day it dawned on me, none of my co-workers was that butthole. When I got fired from a volunteer position teaching at an inner city elementary school that I'd moved across the country for, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets greased. I taught reading and worked in after school, which was run by a lady who was pregnant and increasingly crazy as the pregnancy progressed. She had it out for this one kid and put him in seclusion, telling us that nobody was to help him when he asked BC he was just looking for attention. Well, the kid asked me for help and I helped him. Jackie got mad and chewed me out. I told her she was bad at her job, amongst other things, and complained all the way up the ladder about her. A few days later, I got disinvited from attending my position. City Year told me that if I worked a 40-hour week at another volunteer position while everybody else went to the national convention in Boston, I'd be able to finish out the last 2 weeks and get my educational stipend since I'd already completed the required number of hours. I did the 40 hours working at the San Jose Housing Consortium, but when they got back, they dismissed me anyway. Should have just kept my head down and shut up and finished it out quietly. Hard lesson, but frick City Year anyway. When my blood work came back from my doctor visit to figure out why I was constantly in pain, tired and nauseous, and my doctor challenged my statement that I had a 1 or 2 drinks a night habit by asking if I had picked up any other habits since my last visit. When I said no, she showed me which drugs I tested positive for. I never realized I had a problem because I was performing at work and had solid relationships with friend and family. When I got caught lying about my recreational use of substances was when I knew I was in deep. Been totally clean living since the 1st of January 2019, though got back on coffee in October. That's somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 drinks not drunk, around 300 joints not smoked, and several $1,000s in Valium not consumed. Went to therapy and my therapist said, the fears which you don't overcome becomes your limitations. That hit me so hard with the realization of I am the reason why my social life's crap RN. When I reject every sweet, loving, attractive girl that actually wants to be with me and that I'm comfortable with. IDK, why I do that? Do I like being single so I can do what I want? Do I hate myself and don't think I deserve it? Both? Something else entirely? I realize this all probably rhetorical, but I'm watching a decent acquaintance do this right now, and I'll tell you that I think there's several layers of fear holding him back. When I realized that nobody else was holding me back, it was always me. During a counseling session many years ago, I heard someone once tell me I was manipulative. At the time I had heard this said, that all women are manipulative. I thought it was just one of those things and ignored them at the time. After another failed, toxic relationship, I looked into what it meant. I realized I had trouble asking for things directly because I was scared of rejection and very insecure, self-sabotaging things that felt like they were beyond my control. Delved into some recommendations on RCPTSD and realized I had PTSD from a traumatic childhood and an abusive partner prior to the one I'd just lost. Turns out I am codependent. After all of that, got some therapy. Also found out I have OCD, so it was a busy few months. But Coda really helped me to work out who I am. and to take responsibility for my own emotions and actions. Still got a way to go, but the outlook is a lot brighter than it was previously. It all began at the start of my actual birth. Both of my parents failed to show up. Doofenshmirtz Incorporated theme plays. By the time I'd been fired from like 20 different jobs, I realized it wasn't just bad luck or just happening to get a bunch of jerks for bosses and co-workers. I was genuinely incapable of competently performing at any job no matter how hard I tried. Anyways, then I went on disability. Late last year, 28F. Struggling with feelings of being a failure because I'm still stuck in a dead-end job with crap pay, no education. Have been trying to get one for the past 8 years but always lucked out, gotten lucky because of money. Vicious cycle. I tried to learn more about my traumas and meditation. Stumbled on this Netflix Vox documentary called The Mind Explained or something. Episode about mindfulness something. That had a story in it told by a monk about being in a boat while meditating and he was slowly getting pee off by someone else bumping his boat over and over again. When he couldn't take his rage anymore, he opened his eyes and realized he was on the bank and it was his boat that was hitting it. I realized then that I am the same. Suddenly all the cliches and inapplicable positive inspirational quotes that I've always found to be blah 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 finally made sense. You're the one that allows other people to control your emotions. You can change how you react. So yeah, I'm practicing mindfulness and meditation daily, especially in traffic. And though I'm still a failure with a dead-end job and crap pay, I've accepted that it is who and what I am. I can't change that about myself, but I can change how I feel about myself. Thank you for the amazing story, and best of luck with continuing with your meditations. This is Diamond SpongeBob. He only appears every 200,000 videos. Subscribe for good luck. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.